Golly.
These young kids don't know how to work for the last 100 years. Like, it's not a new thing to say.
And you want them to feel that because they are the ones helping build it.
My business would be further, my personal life would be further. I've been less stressed and probably make more money.
They do make pretty good money, but it's a hard job to come by.
All right, guys, listen. It's always something. So we're getting started late, which y'all don't know because we don't know when you're listening to this.
And you probably don't really care.
Right. But okay. So today, we've just been talking about, me and her. We're always still growing and talking about all these different things. And what we want to talk about today is once your business starts to get some traction, and it's getting to like employee time, it's getting to stepping up your game and really investing in something you got growing. A lot of the skill set that you learned and the way you thought about things has to change to make that next step. They say making your first million is easy, and after to get past that is, if you don't really change your mindset, most people can't get past that because they can't get their business to go to the next spot. We just kind of want to go over some of that stuff, what we've seen and done, and some advice to maybe help you make some more money.
Do you have a disclaimer before this part?
Yeah, the disclaimer is, if you listen to us, maybe it will not take near as long for you to make money as we did, because we just, we sat around for years, and if you do it the way I did, your wife nags a lot more and complains a lot more. So this is really to help you make more money, hear less bitching.
If there was any nagging and complaining, it was doubled by him from doing it his way. So
A lot of complaining.
also, in the fine print of the disclaimer, if our way makes you take longer, then that's not on us.
Every problem and every mistake is your own fault. Just remember that.
I wish you would remember that more often.
I remember it every day. When I wake up and you're still there, I was like, what a mistake.
I don't even have a heart of feelings anymore because you've just stepped on them for so long that they're just in pieces on the ground.
All right, we're going to let Hannah lead you off. So what you got, Hannah?
No, you go ahead.
What you got?
Go ahead. I got a paper and notes, but I'm gonna let you take off.
All right, number one. This is extremely common thing. What?
Nothing. It's Johnny for taxes. I'll call him back.
Oh, it's always something with taxes. Okay, so this is something that a lot of people really struggle with because their mindset is not correct and their vision is not correct. So I'll just give you like my scenario. What I was doing is I come in here to start a business, and my first initial goal was I'm just going to work by myself, for myself, and just make money. And eventually I might have somebody to help me. This is like a helper that just assists with the easier things that I need to get done.
Like a shop hand.
And they could be skilled in some areas, but I just didn't expect them to be skilled to where I was at, just somebody.
Because you think you're superior. I'm just kidding. Look, I gotta say something because.
Well, you're so rude though. You just say it ruder than I do.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, where was we at? Okay, so that's my mindset. So my goal is, let's just throw some fake numbers out there. Let's just say my goal was to make. Let's say I quit a job making $50,000 a year, and my goal was to be own my own business. And if I could make $150,000 a year, I would be extremely happy. And if I could find somebody to work for me that made 20 to 40 grand, whatever I thought their skill was worth, that means 100, 110 for me. So I've more than doubled my income, and I'm going to do this kind of work. And I think that's going to be a great deal for me because I'm making money, but I do have to work. Well, and that's where the problem comes in is we don't want somebody that's a terrible worker, but we're expecting them, we're looking for somebody in this price range. And so if I had to ask you what's going to be a better worker, someone who is satisfied with 20, 30 grand for the next 5 years helping me, or would it be someone who's looking to be ambitious and making 80 to 100 grand?
Am I really supposed to answer?
Yes, I'm not.
Oh,
Yeah, because you're not
obviously,
involved. I'm trying to
ob-
get you involved.
oh, I don't want to cut you off. Obviously, the one that wants more money.
Right. But the problem is my business plan doesn't allow that person to work for me.
Hmm.
And I ain't saying you can't find a skilled person that will work for 20 and 30 and does not have any ambition, because it is out there. It's very few. And honestly, I think it's less now than there was, let's just say 20 years ago. And I think this is the reason why. 20 years ago, we didn't really have the internet. What we were taught was go to school, work hard, work for somebody, or go to school, go to college, work for somebody, and make more money. That was the two choices we were handed. It wasn't work for yourself. It wasn't do, you know, things online to make money, work from home. None of that was even really an option. So we had two choices, and you left school and you're like, well, I didn't go to college, so I just expect to not make money. And that's not true, but that was our mindset for just the whole group of people. I mean, nobody in my family went to college. I would have been the first one when I did start, but I dropped out uh, because I was pushed so hard to go to college, because if I was going to be broke if I didn't.
Yeah, well, I think it's just that generation mindset, because that's how even my grandparents are. It's like you have to go to college, you got to go to college. And
Yeah. So so now you get a kid that's 18 to 20. They see all these people making money doing other things that didn't go to college. Like, it's kind of flipping, where college is almost a joke to most people, unless you're going for a specific area that needs college. Why would you go? Like doctors, lawyers, whatever that you can't obviously do without the degree. There's not a lot of reason to go, because there's so many ways to make money. So I think that person that didn't go to school, that dropped out in 10th grade, that maybe didn't do anything with their life for 5 years, all of a sudden they can get on this binge of learning to self develop from watching people online. They're like, oh well, it's not too late. I can make more than 20, 30 grand a year just being nothing, like I thought I was. So there's just so much more opportunity, information, and examples of that happening. I think the people that are just believe that they are never going to do any better have more guidance to know that they can. So I think that really takes that away, which, I mean, that's a great thing. I mean, it's terrible that somebody would just be okay with that, because if they are, I mean, there's too much opportunity. So I had the $150,000 business plan to total profit, and then for me and another employee. There wasn't room for them to make 80, because it would have cut into what I thought. Because if they're going to make 80 to 100, I'm back to working where I was. Why would I do it? So, like our buddy Ryan Stewman, like the way he put it, he says it all the time. And I thought this, but I never thought it to put it this way. But I have to build my empire so big that everybody that works for me can fit the biggest empire they can imagine inside of mine. Because if I build my $150,000 business, and somebody else, their empire that they want to build is working for somebody, secure job, place they like for 100,000, it don't fit in mine no more. So they're gonna leave. The 20, 30,000 person fits in mine, but that's not the employee that I want. That's not the person that's driven. That's not the person that has goals. Like, so here at our shop, we had, so I went from going to work by myself. Then I got a person to work with me. Um, then I came here to this shop, and it's like, okay, now I got 4 people, and I'm drowning. But my empire in my head still was not big enough to attract anybody. We went through helpers and went through helpers. And then once things started turning around, I'm like, okay, I got a point here. I'm either going to keep doing this and just toiling down here at the bottom and struggling to really be like, not really build wealth, or I'm going to take this, I'm just going to go all in on building some kind of massive business that can fit the people that I want in it, to attract people and pay them good. Because I mean, honestly, we are probably not like most employers. We want people to make money. Like, I want to pull up outside and everybody be decked out in whatever car they want to drive, and see them going on vacations, not struggling about money all the time. Like, that's what we want.
Yeah,
We want to make so much money to be able to give it back to them too. and everybody be happy.
Yeah, we're not at all the personalities of selfishness. Like, we want this wealth and this success. We want that. We want it, but we want to be able, like you just said, to give it to our employees, because we're not slave drivers. Like, you don't want them just sitting here miserable and then watching us make money while they're still struggling at the bottom.
Yeah, and
Because, I mean, what kind of success is that if you can't give success to the people that are helping you get your own success?
100%. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, like, how could I go out and have all these nice things and be like, hey guys, you're just gonna have to make the same money because the company needs it. Like, that's the biggest crap. Like, right now we got during 20 to 22, 23 was the biggest wealth transfer to billionaires ever at one time. Everybody made less money. Made less money if they could work. All the commodities went up. Our steel went up. Our prices went up because our steel went up, our parts went up, our labor went up, everything went up. But we didn't make the money.
Mm-hmm.
The people at the top that own all the corporations, there's like 5 companies that own each other and own everything else for the most part. They made all the money. So they all got way wealthier, and they're still raking that money in and killing the middle class people altogether. So it's a struggle for us too, because our price went up, but it ain't because we getting richer.
Well, and with our price going up, that also makes our demographic of buyers smaller. So that has,
Yeah, which we agree with, but also we would have rather our price not went up and still caught those
yeah.
people. But we had to go with everybody else. So building my empire bigger. So now I need to make multiple $1 million a year to be able to pay our guys enough money that they can fulfill what their goals are in life, so they'll stay. Because everybody says these young people won't work, and I'm sure. Well, I seen an ad. This guy was showing ads through the years of articles of people complaining these young kids don't know how to work for the last 100 years. Like, it's not a new thing to say. And of course, all these old geezers is going to be out there like, these young kids don't know what to do. Well, you got 50 years experience, dog. Yeah, they don't expect them to know what you know. But also, I think people are devaluing money as much as they used to for more happiness and fulfillment, and they're just not going to take the dumb stuff no more. Like, I can't find nobody to work for $15 an hour for me to go dig ditches all day. No shit.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely not. Pay them 40, they might come. And all these people complain, I can't find nobody to work. And the first thing I ask them is, what are you paying them? And it's never what I think that person should get paid. And they're like, well, I can't afford to pay somebody that. I'm like, well, you have to charge more. That's what we have to do. We have no choice. We got to do that. And I know something that we did that I'm sure people did. I heard nobody else that I've asked, though, say, when I ask them about employees and all this stuff, we did give everybody multiple dollar an hour raises during when everybody was getting sign-on bonuses and stuff. I was like, if I have to hire somebody right now and I have to pay them this much money and my guys aren't making that, we've just got to suck it up and pay our guys that. Because also it would be dumb for them not to leave and go somewhere else to make $3 or $4 more an hour or whatever that rate ends up being, because we wouldn't pay them. Then we got to hire somebody else at that price anyway. So I just give it to them.
Yeah, well, and with our guys too, I mean, and that was a hard hit because it was everybody at one time.
Heck
so
yeah.
our payroll really went up, but they were worth paying that.
Absolutely.
Like, they are great guys. They do work hard. Now, are all employees perfect? No. Do we have our issues? Yes. Do you feel like you're babysitting sometimes? 90% of the time. But I mean, that's just how it is. And we really have a great group of guys that I did not question or feel like, God, I really don't feel like we should be paying them this much money. They're just really not worth it. Like, they were 1,000% worth that sacrifice and getting them more money.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't come out of pocket to cover that. That was part of our expense of our product going up. But that also puts more weight on us of, hey, we've got to build our product brand so that we can keep selling at a higher price.
Right.
So it was put on us. We didn't directly pay for it because the company couldn't take a hit because we've been in the growth stage so long. We couldn't just take the hit. So we had to
But it was
work
scary
harder.
having to get into that new
Oh,
demographic
absolutely.
of raising the prices because we were like, we want to pay them more, but we couldn't guarantee we were going to keep making the same amount of sales at the same time.
Yeah, you got to. You're like, are we going to sink the company by
Yeah.
paying them more, or
Yeah.
So it's it's a nightmare. Just from every perspective, you got to balance all this stuff out. It's really just like a big juggling
It's a
thing.
lot. It is always a lot.
But I just hear people. So I like just kind of like to recap that because I feel like I said a lot. I don't know if I covered everything I really wanted to say to people, but like as a recap, if you are a single person trying to hire a helper, if you can't build your single person empire up enough to fit them in it, the good employees who's ambitious will leave. If they don't see you going somewhere in 5 years, they will leave. Our guys, we have to be, we do as best we can. And I know we get busy, we forget, but when we do have meetings, I try to remind them like, we're trying to build an empire and we want y'all to grow in this with it, and you will be rewarded for building it with us. And we are so close to building that. Like we are on the last, I ain't gonna say the last step.
I'll say, but we're on
I
that
think we're on the
verge.
last big step.
Yeah, we're on that edge.
We'll always have big steps, but I think this is the biggest one because uh, it's just the last big move to get this to like a competing with all the big boys. We're right there. So
Playing
and,
with the big boys now. That's
and
a
they're
song.
sticking with us. They're sticking with us,
Mhm.
and they don't know how much we appreciate it. We tell them, but they probably really don't.
And they want to
just
see our
the
business.
fact that they've took, they took, well, took it upon themselves to make sure things get done, to make sure things are handled, to put the work in to get this far, is let me break free and start making moves that help all of us as a whole. But I don't see it as my business. I mean, it is, but we do it. And when I talk to people about, they're like, man, you build some great stuff. I'm like, we sure do. Like it's always a we, because I don't. I mean, we do. I couldn't do it without them. So I don't ever say I do. I don't like saying that.
Well, and they genuinely like it here. They want to see our business succeed. And even when we have meetings that are hard or maybe tough conversations, um, they I don't know, like they just kind of get a new sense of responsibility where they really step up.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like delivery. Like
Yeah.
there's one thing we had an issue with, and I've said it like 5 times, and I'm like, nobody gets it. What the hell? To me, it seems very obvious. So I went in there this last meeting and drew it on the board, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Okay." So we need a visual for that one.
Visualization.
For that one, we need to be visual. Some things it can be verbal, and now that's visual. They're all like, "No," and it's not that they didn't know. It's just I don't think uh, they were looking at it from like they work on production parts. They get all this stuff done. They're not really on the fulfillment side, and I'm looking at it from fulfillment and thinking we are struggling, and they just didn't see it that way. But now we got that visual up for them to reference. Now they see
Mm-hmm.
the fulfillment side more clear.
And they
I
just
know
didn't
they
know-
understand it,
yeah.
but it's just more like they can walk by that visual and be like, "Oh crap, we got to do
Yeah,
this."
they can see it.
Very
Well,
easy.
especially because they get in a rhythm. Like you get in a rhythm of building
Yeah.
something or whatever. You really don't think about, oh, I really didn't finish putting any of that together. I just got a whole bunch of the same parts. You know. But too, you're talking about when we gave our guys raises, which I can't remember if we've said this before on the podcast or not, but our guys raises also come with they have to learn how to do everything in the shop, which
Well,
really
that's like a new hire raise.
yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like but it made it easier to pay them more because they could still do everything, like, and they were really good at it.
Yeah, new hire. I mean, they kind of know it now,
Yeah,
and they push to keep
but they will do it.
knowing all that stuff.
Yeah.
What's on your notes? I'm gonna let you go because I'm gonna take over the whole thing.
No, that's all right. I mean, you hit most of it, but well, when you're talking about you're talking to your employee or like building the empire for your employees, that was just only one of the things I wrote down was pretty much that, like inclusiveness, just being like telling them your vision for the business and where you want it to go, where you see it going, where your struggles are. Because when you start trying to hide that away, or you're not very clear, you're not, no one's on the same page, it makes that building process a lot more difficult because no one really knows where they're going and they don't see the benefit in it for them. So then their care is going to be down here, and then your frustration is going to be up here.
Yeah, they're in self preservation mode instead of
Yeah, they don't
um,
see like they don't see some kind of sense of responsibility for success. Like everyone has ambition to be successful in some extent.
well,
And if
and they
they
want to
feel like,
belong.
and that's what I'm saying, if they feel like they're a part of something that is growing, that is big, like they feel like they're a part of that success of a business, that feels good. And you want them to feel that because they are the ones helping build it. So you keep them in the dark, where's the joy in that? They just kind of feel like they're tooling their life away for your glory. But when you bring them with you, that's that's a that's like a that's something that you want for your atmosphere. That's what I love. And just how you talk to them, how do you talk to your employees? I feel like it can be very easy to not criticize, but what's the word that I wrote down? Oh, correct. Like when you're correcting them on what they do. But I think just as much as you correct them, you need to verbally like let them know how you appreciate them and steps that they're taking, and then how they've taken on responsibility or whatever that may look like, because just in human nature, it's easy to want to just correct. And it can sometimes be hard, I think, if especially if you are more of like a prideful person or think, I don't want to be like, hey, great job, buddy, whatever. Um, for men, I think that can be hard, especially if you grew up not having that, with that older, tough man mentality. But everyone wants appreciation and everyone wants to feel seen, everyone wants to feel recognized and heard. And so I think even in your meetings, or if it's just like a person that you specifically see, just let them know that you appreciate their work and how you see that they're getting so much better, and that you couldn't be where you are without them, and that they're a vital part of the company and the success and the growth that you're headed towards.
Yeah, I feel like it was the Zappos guy. There's a book about that, how he rose that shoe thing,
The what?
the shoe company Zappos.
Mm-hmm.
I read most of that book. It was a pretty good book and just on like team building. I'm pretty sure it was that his one. I think most of his people in the beginning really didn't get paid. But he like sold them on this vision so hard that they stuck around, and now they all ended up wealthy that jumped in there with him. But like he had them working for free, like they were. Someone was living at the office,
Mm-hmm.
like they were doing whatever they could to make this take off, and they got it. Um, and they were rewarded for that in the end. But he had them so sold, they were more worried about keeping the group together than themselves, and
There's
that's
something
massive.
so powerful about that, and just your communication and your belief in something that, like, it's going to happen and you have such a heart behind it, and then just communicating that rather than being stingy and selfish. Don't go after a business or growth for selfish reasons, because you're not going to find any kind of happiness or fulfillment through doing that.
Yeah, you
Nor
need to
have a
just
team that will be happy for you. You're just going to burn bridges and have people around you that are probably miserable, and you're an angry business owner that no one likes to be around.
yeah, and you bring new people in, they're already gonna talk bad about you and ruin that new person
Hmm.
immediately.
Hmm. Yeah. I saw well, I don't remember if I put that on here or not. You can go ahead, whatever you're going to say.
I would just all right. So getting past that $1 million, like the hold up, whatever that hold up is for you that you're sitting at. We talked about having the vision big enough to support good employees. So now I want to talk about taking risks. And so, like I was talking to Hannah earlier, I was like, hey, all right, so this is what I was thinking. When I started the business, I quit a job and I was making 100 grand a year. But let's just say you wasn't. Let's say you was making 30, 40, $50,000. And you quit that job to start a business, and you really aren't risking anything because you can go right back and find another one of those jobs today. So you don't really have nothing to lose. That's why you did it. Because I mean, you might get behind on some bills. You might not drive the car you want. We didn't risk it. Like, we lived in a trailer. I had a truck that it was old. I kept that truck for 11 years, a trailer for 11 years. Uh, but I could have went and got a job and bought new stuff immediately. So, but when it got to where I was making enough money that I couldn't go get that job anymore, I couldn't just replace that. I started shutting down that risk factor. And I was like, okay, well, I'm making pretty good money. I can't risk it. I've got to just hold on to it. And it can't make me money, but it's just my security. I can't let it go. So I wasn't growing the business, and we were just sitting there idle. I was kind of insecure about what if I failed? People was going to make fun of me. Everybody's going to be like, oh, I knew he wasn't going to make whatever, whatever they might would have thought. Probably wouldn't have told me, but that's what they'd have thought. And that's what I thought somebody would say. So just to keep that from happening, I'd rather been like, oh, well, he sat still than he lost. Now it's like, I don't care. If we lose, I don't care. We'll start over. But, I wouldn't want to lose, so we keep fighting. But I'm saying, if it all fell apart and there's nothing I would try to save it. But if it didn't work, I'd be like, all right, well, let's do it again. But, so, right now, we are risking more than we've ever risked, period. So there was no risk in the beginning. We felt like there was risk. There's really no risk. So why wouldn't you just try? So you get a little money, you start making a little too much to just go replace. And now we're risking, and I didn't risk. And then I risked that. And going through that and feeling that broke again, and then coming back up out of that broke to get past that, now it's like, okay, I'm back. That was my first really risking it. Starting it wasn't risking it. So now we're here. When I say broker than we've ever been, it's leveraging money, pushing inventory, stuff that we can't flip very easy. A lot of times we can buy ourselves out of our debt. We can't buy ourselves out of our debt right now. Stuff like that. So we're in it. Yeah, we're like this. It's got to work, or it's just going to go down. So it's never been this at this point where it's going to go one way or the other, but it can't stay here.
It's like we said, like we're literally on the edge.
Yeah, we can't idle.
It's make or break.
Yeah,
really.
So there's no sitting idle no more. It's one or the other. Yeah. And so and honestly, what's so bad is last year at this time, I said, I am too complacent. I said, honestly, I wish I had something in my life that made me hustle because I'm too complacent. Shouldn't have said that. Here it is. Shouldn't have said that, because now here we are, uncomplacent, 100%. But honestly, our growth for the business is incredible. I can see like my empire vision has got bigger to fit my guys having a better life in there. It's caused us to go deeper in on social media. It's caused us deeper to go on brand. Like, it's forced us to branch out because we have no choice. We have to make this. So it's good. Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. It sucks at the same time, but we all know, real business people, they know it's always good and it always sucks. And sometimes that swaps 10 times a day.
Yes. Probably sometimes 20.
If you get a good week, you're like, you better be thankful.
Boy, I'm telling you. That's what I was telling Tim this morning is, just as like a total side note, but my stress level has been astronomical. Like mainly the last 2 to 3 weeks. But I don't know if I don't know. It's done a lot. And so last Friday, I woke up with a super sore throat, couldn't even lift my head up. My neck hurt so bad. And it's just kept going. It's still not gone. So I went to the doctor because I was like, whatever, it's going to go away. I don't really like going to the doctor. Whatever, it's going to be fine. Well, it just wasn't going away. And they tested me for all the things. It's all negative. And I told them, I said, I genuinely think it's stress. That's just my body is not happy. So there's a lot of risk, and I am grateful for the growth that we're going to get through it. But it's just the truth. Like, it is. In business, it is very stressful. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot of families' lives, or their like the employees we have here, their livelihood as far as working with us.
Our responsibility to keep them employed
Yeah.
is with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more employees you have, the more better employees you have. I mean, if I was just kind of a, trying not to say many cuss words,
I know.
crappy person,
Same. Yeah.
and I had 2 employees that I didn't give a crap about, I'd be like, oh hell, I'll just let them go and we'll make it work. But we do not want to let nobody go. Like we care more. Like when we talk about what's going to happen, what we got to sacrifice, we care more about what making sure they're okay than we do we're okay. And that's not normal, I'm sure, for most people.
Well, and we've really even doing that. We cut back. We've tried to not like our purchases for stuff that we feel like maybe we could push off or whatever. Like we've just really tried to keep our spending down to make
Yeah.
sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, just buying the things that's more necessary.
Yeah.
You got anything else on
Sorry,
your list?
I think I distracted you when I said that.
No, you didn't.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I can get my brain together to like say what I think I'm trying to say. But when you were talking about risking it or having risks, it's really easy sometimes to get wrapped up in your brain thinking about the what ifs and the future, and to not be present in your situation. So like, when you're stressed, you can end up making decisions, very rash decisions that honestly are not going to benefit you, because you're like looking at every scenario, every possibility, when you have no idea. You have no idea what's going to happen. And most of the times it's things that are out of your control. And so when you can sometimes learn, I mean, you have to think about the future. I know that you have to think about the future to grow. You've got to think about plans and all that kind of stuff. But that ends up being all you think about. Like, you're not really focused on where you're at presently and like what's the actual most logical, most beneficial decision that you can make right now, that you can control and that you can go after, instead of being so wrapped up in the future when it ain't here. Today is the present, and that's where you should stand and then adjust accordingly, thinking about what your plans are, where you're trying to go, what you want to be. But don't get caught up in that so much as where you're actually standing.
Yeah. So I mean, when things stress me out, if I can't fix them, I ain't saying it's perfect, because I still stress out about things I can't fix. But like one guy said, he said, write everything that stresses you out down, and then mark out everything that you can't change, and just forget about those, because it don't matter, because you can't change them. And then the things that are left, handle them. But don't. And I'm a great procrastinator. I'm really good at it. But I've learned the stuff that I hate to do the most, and like on that list, there's like, here's things I can change, and the one thing that's probably the most beneficial I put off to the last minute, and then when I actually do it, I wasted more energy stressing about it than I did just fixing it, by multiples of 10. Like, it's crazy how much I waste thinking I should do this, I should get this done, I should finish this, and don't do it. Then when I get done, I'm like, oh, my business would be further, my personal life would be further. I've been less stressed and probably make more money.
Yeah. And just one thing even the stuff that you can change. So you make a list and you start marking things off, and you're like, well, I can do this, this, and this. At that point, don't focus on that result, because you can get to where you're like, oh, I can change this, but you're wanting that result immediately. And you know what I mean? Like, things that you feel like you can get rid of, things you can change. You can think, well, this is not happening as fast as I think it should, or it's not looking like I think it should. But you just got to stay consistent, because you know where you're wanting to go. So don't get wrapped up or discouraged if it's not exactly within the next week. Or
Well, I mean, you're going to be stressed either way. I mean, you just can't get rid of it.
No, for sure.
But if there's
Well, I just
20
said
things
that.
on your list and you can get rid of 11 and you can fix 5,
Yeah.
it's way you won't feel so overwhelmed with things that you feel like you have to do, because now you've narrowed it down. I've got like, 4 things to do that I can actually, I'm stressed out. These 4 things I'm dealing with instead of 20 things.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes you not so overwhelmed.
Give you more of a peace about where you're at.
All right, so business owners.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this too before we do like a little recap. Learning to do the stress. I mean
To do the stress.
risk. Yeah, learning to do the stress is not good. the risk taking part when I mean there was stressful risk parts in quitting my job. So I'm not saying there's no risk, but it's very low risk. But learning that process and then getting to the part where I was stable and was scared to grow, that risk was I thought it was bad. Like so the risk that I took wasn't that big of a risk. The growth that I had to go through as a person was a ton. But now this time our risk is a ton, but the growth I have to go through is way less because I've already did that. So that's why I was telling David the other day, like our business is the most, like say fragile, like it's the most uncontrolled, like just on
It's
the
on
edge
it's on
as
thin
it's
ice.
ever been. But I was more stressed when it was more stable the first time I tried to do it. So you learn to get through that part. The next time it happens, you're not near as stressed, even though this one's worse. To mentally handle, we've become stronger, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, every ledge you kind of climb over, you start learning how to handle it differently and what it's going to look like and moves you should make, because you've been there before or in a similar situation. That first, I mean, there's not a lot of risk ultimately in starting out, but that doesn't mean there is a lot of risk.
There's a lot of
but
growth.
yes, there is a lot of growth, and it is hard. That I would say that's probably going to be one of the more scarier moments because it's new, it's fresh.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing. You haven't gone through growth. It's very open ended. There's just a lot of confusion. So I would say that is more of the scarier end. And then you kind of start moving into your real risk, where there's like, crap.
Yeah. I mean, I like to look at things like from a far distance view. So if you just say, and take yourself, try to take myself out of it.
Yeah.
Kind of like looking over a shoulder type of thing. So if you said, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to quit my job and start a business, and I make 50 grand a year. Think about somebody else. Think about like, just kind of look at a big scenario, January, quit the job. Worked 6 months, didn't really make didn't really make any money, kind of broke even, maybe lost a little money. June, got a job. That wasn't risky that really at all. But it feels really risky, but it really wasn't a big
Well,
deal.
you don't want to fail. It's risky because you don't want to fail.
I know, but I'm saying like when it's you, you're like, oh, I'm going to quit my job. What am I going to do? But if you look over like, oh, 6 months, I tried to work for myself. I didn't make any money. I got a job. Wasn't even that risky. Because you could easily fix the problem. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But now the growth of learning to handle the change is a ton.
Yeah, that's probably in a business one of the hardest things
Yeah.
that you will do.
So when I quit my $100,000 a year job, I didn't feel like it was a risk. Everybody's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I have kept my bills down so low, living in the trailer, paid for a truck, paid for a shop. I owed on my property is like $200-300 a month. That was my bill, besides like phone bill, power bill. So I could go get a smaller job and be just fine and keep hustling. Like if I had to resort back, I could do it. So to me, it really wasn't. I didn't feel a risk, like a life altering risk. I just didn't know what I was doing. So growth wise, it was a train wreck.
Yeah, I wonder if that's different for people that maybe have been like in a business for, like years and years, and there's a lot of investment and like their skill set is limited and maybe they're getting a job in that area would be harder. That would make them feel more scared to quit. Like if they're like,
job
well,
in the area they're already in.
Yeah, like
because I took a job. My business, I had no experience.
No, I know, but you
It's
have
terrible.
I know, but you have like a skill set that's you can do, like you said, like get a quick job and whatever. But I mean, I guess what I'm thinking, which this may not make any sense. I guess I'm just thinking someone that their job is they do make pretty good money, but it's a hard job to come by.
Yeah, like just say, I mean, a nurse is not a hard job to get, but if it was, and they was a nurse, and this is my only real skill, and I quit, I might not find another nursing job or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that could definitely hurt, but also that's prepping yourself. Like I say, I had $100,000 a year job. I could have took a 30 and been okay because I prepped to make the move.
To have like lower bills and a lower living expense.
Right.
Gotcha.
So what's your closing deal before I
I feel like I've
you said enough. Okay.
I've talked a good bit.
That's a good woman right there, knowing she said enough. All right.
I get told enough when to be quiet, so I know my cues.
So just like the review for the business owners, sit down and just like identify your what your growth wants to be, what your end goal is, and then when you have that, and it's obvious you're making moves to fulfill that. I mean, tell your employees that that's where you're going. Tell them like this is what I want. This is where we're going. You're coming with me. Like make them part of the team. Make them part of the plan. Give them goals. Give them a journey to go on. Make them feel like they belong because you should want them to belong. And you should make them belong. But if you don't even know where you're trying to go and you don't have a plan that you can't even recite to them, they're never going to feel like they're coming to a job. Like we want our employees, we feel like they're on a journey with us. We're going somewhere and they're coming with us. And in the end, if unless all hell breaks loose, we're getting there. Like there's no doubt that we'll all be successful together.
Yeah, let me give you a scenario. So just think about it like this.
Talking.
I am, but let me think about it like this. If had a leader or like someone, they were like, come on, I want you to come with me. We're going to go do this. And they're like, where are we going? They're like, I don't know, just come on. Or what are we doing? We'll figure out when we get there. Just come on. Well, I'm not going to go down that road. Whether it's if you had someone say, hey, let's go. And they're like, where are we going? He's like, don't worry, I got it. And they're like explaining the plan on the way. But someone that's very confident and strong in their belief of what they're going after will create more confidence in them to want to stay with you. Whereas if you're not confident and you, like you just said, you can't tell them where you're going, like with the plan.
You can be unsure. I think that's what you're saying. You can be unsure, like, hey, this is what we're trying to do, and still be confident instead of being like, I mean, it's probably ain't going to work, but we're going to try. I guess it's like going into war with, if you was leading guys into war and you're like, we may lose, die, but we have this for us, and we are going to give it hell.
Yeah.
Instead of like, we're going to show up because they're coming, but we're probably all going to die. People's not going to be, they're not going to be sold on that.
If he's just as scared as the soldiers he's leading, you're probably not going to get very far. But at least if you're confident, even if you're like, it might burn down, but.
Yeah, I mean, we don't break down numbers to our employees like, this is how much, but they know. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not scared to tell them, like, hey, we're struggling, we're hustling. Thank y'all for doing a good job. Like,
yeah,
we need y'all to do this. Like, if y'all are not helping, we are not making it. Like, they know. Mm-hmm. You ain't got to tell them everything, but tell them, like,
be honest.
They're on the journey too, so let them know where we're at. And when we break over this side and succeed like hell, they'll know it because we're going to tell them, and they'll probably get paid more.
Yeah, they'll make more money.
So they'll know we're there. That's their sign that we did it.
They'll get to see the fruits of the labor and all of it. Get to experience that success and joy and celebration with us.
Yep. Well, all right. Well, that's about it. That's all I got. Unless you got one more thing to say.
I ain't got crap. Got nothing.
All right. Good.
Up top.